أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله.
بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. أما بعد, inshallah Azza wa Jal, today we complete the treating illnesses in Islam short series. Again, this was never intended to be a long series. It was something that was meant to be done in one lesson. But alhamdulillah, we saying that it was going to take a little bit more time than one lesson. So we extended it a little bit, and we didn't get into extreme detail in all of the matters, but just enough groundwork and principles for the people to understand how it's looked at Islamically, to know that these things are available in their deen for them to seek treatment through, and some avenues and ways where they can, inshallah Azza wa Jal, follow if they want more information about it, or if they want to get into the field more through implementation or practice, or even being a person who treats via that particular matter. We spoke in the previous lesson about mental health and Islam, and today inshallah Azza wa Jal we finish off, still linked to that topic, with people that seek out mental health treatment through psychologists, counselors and the like, and some of the things related to that. Can a person seek professional help in Islam where they go and they speak to someone? Yes, of course you can. Of course you can. And companions used to come and speak to the Prophet ﷺ, and companions of the Anam would speak to each other. This is not something foreign to the understanding of a Muslim. And the Muslim is meant to assist his brother in any which way and form that he can. If it is a person that is in financial need, to assist him financially. If it's a person that needs physical assistance, he's being attacked and you defend him, then you should assist him in that way. If it is a person that is looking to get married, for example, and you are able to assist, then you should assist in that regard. And if it is a person that needs assistance psychologically because they're going through some hard times, then also this is part of a good deed, that it's part of the good deeds that a person can do as a Muslim towards his brothers and sisters in Islam. And even if it was not a Muslim taban that you're helping, obviously the door of goodness and benefit is open also to them. So the concept of seeking assistance has never been an issue Islamically. Why is it somewhat now a little bit of a contentious issue? Because the advice that people are given when they go and seek certain help from certain places can become problematic. When it came to their marriage, they didn't fulfill the rights of their spouse, the rights towards their children. Because of this matter, you need to put yourself first. And so they might end up committing major sins because of a concept that someone has told them they need to implement in order to get better. Taban, these people only ever get worse, ayyadan billah. There may be some temporary relief at the beginning, but eventually it's downhill from there. Some people, unfortunately, after they get divorced, for example, they're in their iddah period. Instead of performing their iddah correctly, according to the Quran and Sunnah, the waiting period before a woman can get married, they're told to do the absolute, complete opposite of what their iddah is meant to do and what iddah is meant to say. Some people are advised to take their spouse or someone to court, sometimes even their parents or their brothers and sisters to court to get some sort of right that maybe the Australian government or the Australian law gives to an individual that the Sharia did not give. And so they prefer a law other than the law of Allah Azza wa Jal. And they may say something as silly as, that's more just than the Sharia. And so in a case like that, not only has the person committed a major sin, but ayyadan billah, they've left the fold of Islam. There are a lot of matters a person needs to be extremely careful of. And when you are told in Islam to be careful of your friends because your friends affect you, that also includes people that you go and seek advice from. Even though they're not your friends, but you're going and taking advice from them. That's why you need to be very careful who you go to get that advice. And you should be looking for certain qualities. The main one here is that this person is a Muslim. Should we stop at them being Muslim by name? His name is Muhammad or her name is Khadija? Of course not. Not only we want a Muslim, but we want a Muslim who's knowledgeable in his religion. We want a Muslim who's knowledgeable in his religion. There is no point in having a Muslim who is Muslim by name, but is exactly like going to a non-Muslim. What was the benefit of your Islam? That actually can be worse off for a Muslim. Why? Because he thinks that this person has my best interest religiously at heart. Not knowing that that person is exactly the same as John or Fred or Jackson. And if they had knowledge of the Quran, if they had knowledge of the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, they would never say such matters. Some have even gone to the extent to belittle the religion. Some have gone to the extent of belittling the religion, where they would stand up in front of hundreds of people and literally regurgitate feminist quotes, feminist ideas, feminist principles, and attack Islamically established principles, traditional established traditions from the Prophet ﷺ that the Muslims have been on for literally centuries. They'll come and they'll belittle it, and they'll say it's wrong, and the people in attendance are clapping. And this is meant to be an Islamic forum. It's meant to be an Islamic conference. And this is what they are pushing, this is what they are promoting. It is something extremely dangerous. And that woman wears hijab. She's not going to come and tell you, Wallah, I hate the deen. She's in hijab. She's in hijab at an Islamic conference. But you listen to her words and it is utter, complete utter destruction. So we need to have some sort of knowledge in right and wrong. We need to have principles. We need to have an understanding of what our religion is before we get to these individuals, so that if we hear something that doesn't sound right or it's questionable, alarm bells are set off straight away. But if you go ignorantly to these people and they are not upright and they are not trustworthy and they misguide you, you could be in a world of danger. You could be in a world of danger. If a person doesn't know, go and ask your sheikh. It's very simple. Go and ask your sheikh if the advice that you're given is correct. Go to a doctor, no problem. But go to the sheikh and ask, sheikh, is what the person said correct? And it happens a lot, even medically. Medically, this happens all the time. A person will be told, for example, there's no point in keeping your family member on life support. What will they do? They'll call the sheikh. Sheikh, the doctor is saying I should take the family member off life support. Am I allowed Islamically, yes or no? And the sheikh will give some very quick guidelines, and then the person has the ability to go back to the doctor and say yes or no. Sometimes they'll ask about a particular operation or about a particular medicine. The doctor recommended this, but it's got, for example, gelatin in it. Or the doctor recommended this, but it's got alcohol in it. Am I allowed to take it, yes or no? They recommended this ointment, but it's got this ingredient in it. Am I allowed to take it, yes or no? They'll give them the general guideline, and they can go back to the doctor with that piece of information. The same when it comes to psychology and counseling and the like. One of the problems with psychology is it's become a religion in and of itself. And some would call it the world's new religion. It is the world's new religion. And a lot of these people will hate anything to do with religion. And there's reasons for that. A lot of modern psychologists, people who are leaders in their field, they have an extreme hatred towards religion. And they look at it as just a delusion that the human beings made up because of their need, in order to keep the people controlled, or to have a guilty feeling, or to live by a set of principles like a stick and a carrot. As for its reality, it's got no reality. It's just a delusion. You're kidding yourself. Now, subhanAllah, some of the same people that were founders of the same concepts and pushers of them, they're extreme Zionists at the same time. Go figure. Now, but ala kulli hal, the point is that a Muslim needs to be careful and be willing to travel and be willing to wait and be patient when it comes to your religion. Some people, let's say they live in Wollongong and they can't find this type of psychologist or counselor here, they'll say, I'm not willing to go to Sydney. But if you had an operation that you needed to do and the operation could only be done in Sydney, are you going to say, no, I can't be bothered going to Sydney? You're going to say, no, I'm going to go to Sydney to do the operation because I need it. If you're worried about your deen, then also go to something like that. Or some are stingy. They'll say, oh, I need to pay $100 each time I visit. No problem. Pay $100. What's the issue? You get out for dinner with your family, you're paying more than that. Is not your deen worth more than a meal? Don't be stingy when it comes to the matters of your religion. Or measures should be taken for the preservation of your religion. So number one, make sure you find a Muslim, and a Muslim who is religious and knowledgeable in his deen before you look anywhere else. And if you had to, for whatever reason, find or go to someone else, make sure you take that information and go back to a person of knowledge to make sure that the information that you were given is sound. One thing that a lot of people don't realize, especially with psychology, is a lot of it is based on theory. A lot of it is based on theory, not facts, not proven theories. It's theories that they believe is going to assist, or they believe is the cause, or they believe is the reason, etc. So a lot of them are shooting in the dark. And one of the things that a lot of the people that actually study psychology in university and graduate, one of the things that they'll say, we're always told, is that this is a theory, this is a theory, this is a theory, this is this person's theory, this is what they believe, this is what they study, this is what they found. But not that it's established fact. So you need to be very careful when it comes to that matter. When it comes to psychology and psychologists and counseling, also it's very important to understand biases. This is something very important, especially with the sisters. Who's more likely to go to see a psychologist or a counselor? Male or female? طبعا females, okay? Males, sometimes they'll talk to their friends, sometimes they'll talk to someone close to them, or sometimes they'll do with it, okay, because they're not as emotional. But with the females, they're a lot more emotional, and they like to express themselves a lot more and talk to someone about their issues and the like. So obviously they want to go and they want to talk to someone, and a lot of the ones that they're going to feel comfortable talking to is another female. Is there anything wrong with going to another female to get assistance from? Of course not. But you need to understand, again, biases. If someone has a certain concept that they believe in that is not in line with what you are upon, that can cause you issues. So if a woman, for example, is a feminist, as an example, if a woman is a feminist and she is completely against you being a stay-at-home mum, as an example, and being obedient to your husband, she's completely against that concept. She hates that concept. She thinks that's so wrong. For her, it's almost like killing someone. When you say it, it's like you're stabbing her in the heart. How are you going to go and get proper advice of how you should be and how you're going to get better in your circumstances, in your household with those principles? You need to be aware of the biases. It's not easy for a human being, no matter what profession they're in, to remove biases from themselves. It's not easy at all. That's why Islamically, as a judge, the rulings are so strict. Even if you're having a bad day and a person's angry, you're not allowed to judge. You're not allowed to judge if you're angry. And a person may say, he knows right and wrong, but because you're going to be affected, you're not allowed. And there's so much rules because you don't want your biases to affect the decision. Human beings, very hard for them to let go of their emotions and their biases. If a woman, for example, is divorced, she hates men, as an example. When a person comes to her, a patient comes to her who's got marriage problems, is she going to be, in a lot of the time, looking for solutions? Or she's going to be looking for reasons to get that woman to be divorced? We can say, Sheikh, you're overdoing it, come on, do you think that actually happens? Go and speak to them. Go and speak to them, go and speak to the sisters that went and tried to get assistance. Some of them would advise their patients to let go of the guy, get rid of him. You don't need him in your life. He's the reason for your problems. Without even speaking to the husband or speaking to the partner to even understand what the issue was, or if that person was truthful. How did you give a ruling without even knowing the circumstances? They'll say something like, my duty, my job is not to understand the husband. My duty is to take what my patient tells me. My patient tells me these are the reasons I'm upset, and I give them the solution, go get divorced. But how do you know that that's actual fact? They're like, that's not my problem. I'm basing my decision on what they told me. So again, you need to understand that there's biases there. There's biases there. Some of the stories I have about some of the psychologists and the counselors, again, not through wallah, some random person down the grapevine, for either them directly, dealing with them directly, or dealing with patients that deal with them for a very long time. Some of it is wallah absolutely shocking. But again, we shouldn't be people that think that we're going into wallah, an extremely pious, upright, knowledgeable individual. This is a person who has a particular role, and that person is fulfilling the role as they see fit. Sometimes you have people like counselors giving marriage advice, but that person themselves has been divorced like 3-4 times. That person is going through like court hearings because of issues with their ex-husband for multiple years. Some of them, they've got massive issues with their ex-husbands, where their ex-husbands have not been allowed to see their children for multiple years. How is that person, with all due respect, going to give advice? Generally speaking, if there's a good reason for it, we're not smashing anyone for that reason. But with all due respect, how's that person going to give advice to someone else without any bias or emotion? You need to be very careful in not understanding of who you are allowing to come. Some of them, they'll promote that this is an Islamic service. An Islamic service. And that the sister doesn't wear hijab. Can you be Muslim without wearing hijab? Yeah, of course you can be Muslim without wearing hijab. Of course you can. But are you a good Muslim? No, you're not a good Muslim. You're committing a major sin every single day. You're committing a major sin openly every single day. Would we accept for a man to be like a sheikh or a leader in the community, and we know, for example, he openly drinks alcohol? Are we going to say, mashallah, go learn your deen from them? If you say you're a psychologist or a counselor and pause, no problem, that's one thing. But when you say Islamic psychology or Islamic counseling, how do we take your word seriously if you don't wear hijab? If you believe in Islam that much, barakallahu fiki, may Allah bless you and reward you, but put your hijab on. And if you have a weakness, don't promote yourself as Islamically sound. But again, people get fooled by the names, get fooled by appearances, get fooled by concepts, and they go without understanding the reality. And this is wallah something extremely sad. When it comes to a person seeking out Islamic assistance, when it comes to a person seeking out psychological assistance of a person, whether they are a counselor or they are a psychologist, it's very important that you understand you yourself are the most important individual in that process. You yourself are the most important individual in that process. A lot of people, they go to a counselor or a psychologist, and what do they go to him for or go to her for? For them to solve all their problems. A counselor or psychologist, they're there to give you advice. They can't force you to do anything. So if you yourself are not willing to get better, then they're not going to make you better. There's no magic wand that a person shakes and you become cured from all of your issues. A lot of people, when they want to go and get help, they only want what is going to be convenient for them to make them feel good at that particular time and not change anything in their life. If a person's doing it tough, if a person has issues, you need to get out of that problem through efforts that you put in. Yes, you go to a person for advice on how to get out of that effort, how to get out of that problem. What do you need to do? But ultimately it comes back to you. If you go to a dietitian, I want to lose weight. He goes, okay, what's your diet now? This is the plan that you need to go on. You need to go buy the stuff and you need to stick to that diet. You want to go to the gym, you want to become martial artist, you want to learn how to ride horses, you want to graduate from university. Okay, this is how you do it, but then you need to put in the effort to get there. Same thing when it comes to your emotional and mental well-being. You may be given advice on what to do, but ultimately you have to do it. Why do so many people fail when it comes to their mental health? If they actually have mental health issues, why do so many people fail the treatment? Because they are not willing to do anything themselves. Ultimately, where do people end up? If they go and ask someone, a psychologist or a counselor for particular assistance, and they find themselves after months of treatment not getting anywhere. Where do most people end up? Trying to get prescription medicine for depression and the like. And all that stuff does is it numbs an individual. It just numbs you. You take things like Valium or whatever it may be, you just become, unless you need it, this is one thing, okay? Need is another. We're not talking about need. We're talking about the average person who jumps on these medications without there being a need. They jump on it and it just numbs you. It cuts you off from reality. It causes a block between you and your emotions, so that you lose sense of the bad, but you also lose sense of the good, and you become like a drop kick in life. These things are extremely dangerous, when taken if they are not needed, and if they are taken incorrectly. They're not there to solve your problems. They're there to assist, but not to solve your problems. It's very, very, very dangerous. It's very dangerous. Again, the same concept applies, like we said with medicines and general health. Prevention is better than cure. Don't wait until you're a depressed person for you to try and seek out treatment. Make sure that you are living an extremely healthy life, including mentally and emotionally, so that you don't have to end up in this stage. And that comes through a whole range of things. Things that we mentioned at the beginning, where you are living a holistically healthy life. Your religion is good, your physical health is good, your social life is good. Everything about you is good to the best of your ability. That's when you become a person who is mentally strong and emotionally strong. But if you are weak now, then Allahu Alam when it could go downhill for you. And this is something that we are increasingly seeing, especially with the young men and women, where they are causing themselves depression. They're causing themselves anxiety. They have no experiences from when they're young. They don't get out and try anything new. They want to isolate themselves. They play too much video games. They watch too many movies. They sit on social media too much. And this is causing major mental issues. Major mental issues. Then they are okay because they're fine at the moment, but then they get into their late teens or their early 20s and they go through severe depression. And many of them are unfortunately commit suicide because of it. They end up on substance abuse, taking drugs or alcohol. Then when that doesn't fix their problems, they end up killing themselves. That's a massive issue. And also for the parents, don't be a reason that your children end up with this. Don't wrap your child up in bubble wrap. Don't be a helicopter parent, protecting your child from everything. They need to live, they need to learn, they need to experience. If you just keep your child pacified and protected their entire life, they will grow up weak. And they're the ones that grow up with the most mental health issues. So we don't want our young men and women ending up there, but that means instilling from a young age the right way of thinking and acting and living, so that inshallah Azza wa Jalla they have that fortitude from the beginning. To summarize, can you seek professional help? Yes, of course you can. But make sure it's the right person. Make sure it's the right person, even if that means paying, even if that means waiting, you need to do so. And prevention is better than cure. And if a person doesn't have that luxury of choosing who they go to, at least go back to people who are Islamically sound in knowledge and in methodology for you to understand, is what I am upon, what I'm being advised, is a good yes or no. From there, inshallah Azza wa Jal, you'll be okay. You'll be okay. Do we have this problem in the community? Yes, of course. Mental health is do have an issue? Yes, we have an issue like anyone else. We are not immune to this. But a lot of the cases, they're very sad because they're so simple. They're so simple to fix. The majority of people, they continue digging their own, or not to dig their own grave, but they continue to make their own problems worse. They continue to make their own problems worse. Don't be the individual. Don't be the individual, because eventually, people will stop caring about you. And this is something that you don't want to happen. If you're not going to help yourself, eventually people will give up on you. So many people in these cases, all they want is attention. All they want is attention. And so they will call people and say things like, I'm going to commit suicide. Most of the time, the ones that say they're going to commit suicide actually don't commit suicide. Most of the people that commit suicide, you hear about them that no one knew the signs, no one's seen the signs. The ones that tell people I'm going to commit suicide, usually it's just for attention. Okay? But you can't rely on other people's assistance. You have to fix yourself. Eventually people are like, okay, they'll help you once, twice, but then they get to a point, Akhi, I've got my own family to look after, I've got my own self to look after. I can't keep coming to you at 1 o'clock in the morning trying to help you. I know some people that have told someone that they're going to commit suicide. Okay, go. Stop telling me you're going to commit it. Go commit it. I can't look after you anymore. You have to make that decision. Again, it's not something to be belittled, and it is important that we do assist, but the onus is on the individual. The onus is on the individual. This is a summary of treating illnesses in Islam. If there's anything that we mentioned from any of the previous points, feel free to ask about, and maybe we can do a lesson on if it's a big enough topic individually. But this is an overview, and inshallah Azza wa Jal, anyone that has a specific interest in any of the fields, they can go into more detail or ask any questions about, and inshallah Azza wa Jal will be able to benefit. هذا والله أعلم. صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله محمد وصحبه أجمعين.